Welcome to lecture number 32 for ECE 211 Circuits 1. In this lecture, we're going to look at Fourier transforms. Now, Fourier transforms is actually a course that's covered later on when you take signals and systems. So it goes Circuits 1, Circuits 2, signals. We're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. The reason doing that is because once you have phasors, once you have superposition, you've got Fourier transforms. And Fourier transforms always confuse people with signals. At this point, you're basically ready for it. Kind of a recap. Phasors are how to analyze a circuit when you have a sinusoidal input. The way you do that is you replace everything with its phasor equivalent. Sources become complex numbers. The real part's cosine minus j is sine. Resistors don't change. Capacitors become 1 over j omega c. Inductors become j omega l. I now analyze the circuit just like we did before. Voltage nodes, current loops, Thevenin, voltage division, your pick. Only now using complex numbers. That's phasors. Superposition says if I have a circuit with multiple inputs, I can use superposition. With superposition, I treat that as n separate problems. Analyze the circuit at each input separately. Add up the outputs, I get the total output. That's superposition. Put the two together, you've got Fourier transforms. So here's a problem for you. Suppose I've got a system where the input is periodic, but it is not a sine wave. For example, if you take the note A4, what the note looks like is different depending upon what instrument's playing it. This would be a piano, note A4, tubular bells, a cello. Same note, same frequency, but different wave shape. How do I analyze a filter that has these different inputs? Another example is supposed to have Circuit Lab. In Circuit Lab, if you double-click on a source, I can change it to a square wave, triangle wave, sawtooth wave, different waveforms. If it's a sine wave, we know what to do. We've been doing that. Suppose the input is a square wave, the blue line here. I can find the output using Circuit Lab. That's the orange line. How do I find that with analysis? Well, I know V1 in terms of V0 if the input's a sine wave. I can just say this impedance is 1 over j omega c. By voltage division, that's V2 in terms of V1. This is true for sine waves. What happens if the input is not a sine wave, like a square wave? Now what do I do? Well, the solution is Fourier transforms. The trick is to change the problem. I've got an input where the input is periodic, but not a sine wave. Approximate that with a bunch of sine waves that have the same period. That's called the Fourier transform. This is something you're going to do when you take signals and systems. However, at this point, we're ready for it. Once you have phasors, once you have superposition, you've got Fourier transforms. Now, a trick to using Fourier transforms is to approximate a system. This is a common engineering problem. If I have a hard problem to solve, change the problem. Change the problem in a way so that it's easier to solve, but keep the flavor of the old problem. So suppose I've got an input, let's just take a square wave, an input that is periodic in time t. So if this is t, every t seconds it repeats. That's what this means. Let's approximate it. Let's say x of t is a bunch of sine waves that also have the same period. Well, I can curve fit anything. If I take enough terms in here, I can approximate a square wave with a bunch of sine waves. The advantage of using sine waves is now that they're sine waves, I know what to do. That's phasors in superposition. Now, Fourier transform is how to calculate a sub n, b sub n, and it goes both ways. Given x of t, I can find the frequency content. Given the frequency content, find x of t. Now, going right to left is a no-brainer. Right to left just says that if I add up a bunch of sine waves that are periodic in time t, the answer is periodic in time t. That's kind of like a duh. Of course it is. That's not really too surprising. Going left to right, that's where it's powerful. If x of t is periodic in time t, then Fourier transform says it's composed of harmonics, sine waves that are also periodic in time t. Now let's start out by going right to left. If you go to the CRC Handbook of Mathematics, CRC Handbook of Mathematics, it's got tables of Fourier transforms. For example, this, add up these sine waves with that weighting, that produces a square wave. Add up these sine waves, triangle wave, these sine waves, sawtooth wave, and so on. That's going right to left. And you can see that in MATLAB. So let's switch over to MATLAB. Here's my graph. So here's the graph I'm going to plot. And I'm taking those equations from the CRC Handbook of Mathematics, and I'm going to program those into MATLAB. So let's start out with a square wave. If I add up a bunch of sine waves where the weighting is 1 over n and take the odd harmonics, I'll get a square wave. So this is what this is doing. I'm going from the first harmonic, then add 2 terms, 3 terms, 4 terms. Each term is the odd, so we'll go 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Add them all up with a weighting of 4 over pi times 1 over n, and plot it. And here's what you get. So that's a square wave taken out to 1 term, 3, 5, 7. As they add more and more terms, you get a square wave. So that's Fourier transform going right to left. Add up enough terms, I'll get a square wave. Let's try a triangle wave. For a triangle wave, it's odd harmonics. These are cosine terms, and the weighting is 1 over n squared. Try that. I should get a triangle wave. So here I'm adding 7, 9, 11 harmonics. Kind of see it is converging to a triangle wave. Let's try a sawtooth wave. Take the terms from the Handbook of Chemistry and Math, add them all up, plot them. That's what it looks like. And kind of see that I'm converging to a triangle wave, or sawtooth wave. This one's a sawtooth wave. As the number of terms goes to infinity, it gets closer and closer. And finally, let's do a half-rectified sine wave. So this is the Fourier transform going right to left. If you add up a bunch of sine waves that are periodic in time t, the answer is periodic in time t. And here, the period is 2 pi. That's just a nice number. 2 pi is nice because that's 1 radian per second. So I'm just adding up the first, second, third, the cosine of 1t, 2t, 3t, 4t, and so on. As n keeps on increasing, I'm adding more terms. That's going right to left. So again, this is a square wave taken out to 9 terms, infinite terms. Triangle wave, blue is infinite, red is 9 terms. Half-rectified sine wave, blue is taken out to 9 terms. The blue is infinite, red is 9 terms. That's going right to left. Okay, that's not all that surprising. Challenge for you. How do I go left to right? I know x of t. How do I find the Fourier coefficients? Well, there's a couple ways to do it. One, I can curve fit it. So you can curve fit anything. Let's just take a square wave. Suppose x of t is 0 for half the cycle, 1 for the other half the cycle. And the period is 1 second. Come up with a curve fit for that waveform. Well, I can curve fit anything. Suppose I want to do a power series curve fit. Well, I can do that. I can just pick my basis to be 1, t, t squared, t cubed, t to the 4th, do a least squares curve fit. This is least squares covered in a couple other classes, 111 for example. If I do that, I can find the coefficients for t, for 1, t, t squared, t cubed, plot them, t versus x in blue, t versus curve fit in red, and it's not bad. Add more terms is going to get better. That's curve fitting. Now this is a curve fit that doesn't help, because I'm trying to find out what's the solution to a differential equation given the input. If the input's a power series, I don't really know what to do. If the input was a sine wave, I'd use phasors. That's not a sine wave. Okay, same idea. Rather than use a power series, let's use a bunch of sine waves, because sine waves I like. If the input's a sine wave, I can use phasors. So let's repeat the same curve fit, but choose a different basis. Now let's choose the basis to be a bunch of sine waves. There's a DC term, 1 radian per second, 2 radians per second, 3 radians per second. Choose that to be the basis. Least squares curve fitting. I get numbers. Plot them. This is my data. There's my curve fit. If I add more terms to the basis, I get a better curve fit. That's one way to do it. Just least squares. Fourier transform is just curve fitting. Only the basis you choose are a bunch of sine waves. A second way to do it. If you note, all sine waves are orthogonal. If I multiply two sine waves and take the average, I'm going to get 0 if it's cosine times sine. I'll get 0 if there's two cosines at different frequencies, 0 if there are two sine waves at different frequencies. If the basis elements are 1, the average of 1 and 1, the integral 1 and 1 is t. The integral of cosine at the same frequency is t over 2. The integral of sine at the same frequency is t over 2. Two sine waves at the same frequency. That lets you find each term separately. So for example, if this is x of t, to find a0, what I'll do is I'll multiply by 1, take the average, all these terms average out to 0, and I'm left with a0. So a0 is just the average of x. To find a1, I take x and multiply by cosine of t. The average of cosine is 0, 0, 0. All these terms drop out. Average of cosine squared is a half. That gives me a1 over 2. Multiply by sine of t, I get this term, b1 over 2, and so on. So I can find the different terms just by multiplying by the basis element, taking the average. The DC term will be 1. All the other terms will be half of each term. So what that means is in MATLAB, given x of t, I can find the Fourier coefficients through the following. To find the DC term, just take the average of x. To find the cosine term, I take twice the average of x with cosine of t. The sine term is twice the average of x with sine of t, and so on. That's the same answer I got using curve fitting, using least squares. That's really all Fourier transform is. It's curve fitting. Going back to our circuit. If I have this circuit, I want to find V1. Well, using Fourier transform, I can take V0 and represent it with a bunch of sine waves. Here's a DC term, something at 1 Hertz, something at 3 Hertz. Using superposition, find V1, treating this as 3 separate problems. Analyze at DC, analyze at 1 Hertz, analyze at 3 Hertz. So let's start with DC analysis. If the input is the DC term, 0.5, here's the inductor, there's the capacitor, I get V1 equals V0. At 1 Hertz. At 1 Hertz, this is the input. Let's go back over here. At 1 Hertz, that's this term. This is the cosine term. There's the sine term. It's roughly 0.6365 sine. In terms of phasors, 0.6365 sine, the input is minus j 0.6365. The frequency is 1 Hertz, or 2 pi. Find L at 2 pi, find C at 2 pi. There's the phasor representation. Do voltage division, I wind up with V1 is 0.33 minus j 1.26, which means 0.33 cosine, 0.126 sine. That's the 1 Hertz term. At 2 Hz, there is no input, there is no output. At 3 Hz, the input is 0.22 sine, so it becomes minus j 0.2212. Here's the inductor, j omega L, capacitor, 1 over j omega C. Do voltage division, find V1. Real part's cosine, minus j is sine. The total answer then is the sum of the three. I've got a DC term plus 1 Hz plus 3 Hz. So this is the equation for V1 of t. And actually goes out to infinity. I just include the first harmonic, that's what it looks like. First 5 harmonics, first 20 harmonics. The more terms you add, the more accurate it is. So that's really Fourier transform. If you have an input where the input is periodic but not a sine wave, the trick with Fourier transforms is change the problems. Approximate the input with a bunch of sine waves. The Fourier transform is how to find the coefficients for each sine wave. Once the input is expressed as sine waves, I can use phasors and superposition to find the output. MATLAB makes this process fairly easy. It's a little bit tedious if you have a lot of terms, but doable. The saving grace is typically only a few terms are sufficient. Most terms, most signals have most of the energy at low frequencies. Most filters are low-pass filters. Put the two together, then only a couple of frequencies really matter for the output. That's lecture number 32 for ECE 211, Fourier transforms. Again, this is a topic that you're going to cover in future courses. But at this point, once you have phasors, once you have superposition, you've really got Fourier transforms. And that's lecture number 32 for 211, Fourier transforms.